What up guys, Shato J here. Appreciate y'all tapping in. So today's video is gonna be why I carry in the Valley 956. You know, there's actually quite a lot of reasons, but I just feel like down here, South Texas by the way, I feel like there might be more reasons compared to like other places, you know what I mean? So, make sure nobody around me to let you guys know what I'm rocking right now. It's the SD40, Smith & Wesson Chamberlain 40. It's a 14+1, so 15 rounds of 40. That's not bad for 40, you know, 9 mil. And this, it's about like around Glock 19 size, more or less. Let me show you guys. Check that out. I actually have a video on this that you guys can check out, and I would say that's around Glock 19 size, maybe a little bigger, maybe a little smaller. It's about the same size. And you know, if this were obviously a 9 mil, you'd get 15+1, 16. So a 1 round difference for this package, maybe 2 rounds max, not bad at all. So you got 15 rounds right here, and this is without my extended apex. This is what I'm rocking today. I really like my 40. So carrying is pretty important for several reasons. The first is obviously protection, right? But you know, like a lot of different people, like they carry for different reasons too. And you know, a lot of the times it's just to look badass or look cool and stuff like that. And you know, the thing is, down here in the South, a lot of people have guns. Kind of everybody, to be honest. Especially like, you know, in the Valley, you got a lot of guys just kind of strapped up trying to prove something. And that's cool, right? You know, do what you got to do, you know, put on for you or your people, you know, you want to defend you and your team, that's okay, right? But I just feel like, you know, shit can really spark up here real quick, especially with, you know, just something as little as a look. And you gotta do what you gotta do, you know what I mean? You gotta protect yourself, or like, you know, like a robbery or at home or even in your car, you know what I mean? You got people trying to have some instant smoke and beef with you at a red light. There's things like that. And you know, you can't really go wrong with any different type of calibers here. 9 is definitely cool for many reasons, obviously capacity, but 40 is really good too. From a religious standpoint, you know, back then Jesus said, if you don't have a sword, you know, go buy one. And obviously, right, like guns just outclass swords in every way, you know, in this new day and age. So I feel like his words kind of apply to our generation now, you know what I mean? So to me, that's like me hearing, you know, if you don't have something to protect yourself, you know, and, you know, in this case, like a strap, go out and buy one. You know, there's a lot of like really good price points. You know, there's tons of different you know, classes of firearms, but you can definitely still get something reliable that's, you know, affordable, so you can protect you, your people, your family, friends, your loved ones, things like that, you know what I mean? So there's not really an excuse not to have one. I do got my LTC. I know you don't need an LTC, you know, it's all right or whatever, you don't really need one. But the reason I have one, right, is because let's say I get stopped, right, by a cop, and we all know how cops are, you know what I mean? If they're like, sir, do you have any weapons in the vehicle that I should know about? You know, if you lie for whatever reason and they search the vehicle, you're toast, you know what I mean? You're screwed. So at that point, I'm gonna be like, you know what? Yes, sir, I do have a weapon in my vehicle. Hold up, let me change this out real quick. So if they say, sir, do you have a weapon in your vehicle? I'm gonna be like, yeah, I do have a weapon in my vehicle. And they'll probably ask me to get out of the car, or I don't know, so I could tuck it away, keep it concealed or something like that. But if you have an LTC, you know, you might get a little bit more respect from them. You know, I know respect kind of, it should be working both ways, or, you know, you gotta earn it. It's not just given. You know, at these traffic stops and Terry stops and things like that, you know, it's not as simple as that, you know what I'm saying? So if you have an LTC, they're just gonna look at you with a little bit more respect. They'll be like, okay, at least this fool knows what he's doing, you know what I'm saying? He went the right way of getting it. you trained for it. And by the way, your LTC, your license to carry, you need to do an online test, right? So you got to pass that exam, and you also need an in-person exam, which is like your shooting capability. You know, you can't shoot like off target or things like that, you know, because then why should you carry if your aim sucks, right? At least for the LTC. So while you don't need it, I do think it's a good idea. That's just something I recommend. That's just something I went ahead and did. And I'd probably recommend the same for you guys. If it really comes down to it, I think it'll help. And you know, in that moment, that situation. With that being said, yeah, Pro 2A all the way. Protect you, whoever else you got to protect. You know, without that, the law enforcement or, you know, anybody in the government, you never know, they could take over civilians one day, things like that. Anyways, about carrying here in the valley, man, down here you have a lot of guys that, you know, they just want instant smoke and things like that. And like I said, that's cool, you know, to some extent. But down here, it's not as simple as like, okay, well, you know, let's just throw hands. You know, sometimes it can be like that, yeah, sure, but you never know when somebody's gonna crash out or, you know, just do something wild or something in the moment. So anything ever pops off in that moment, I'm ready, right? And I'm not saying that I'm looking for anything or nothing like that, but what I'm trying to say is that if anybody ever wants anything with me, because I don't do shit to nobody, you know, we're gonna see what's up. Somebody's going down, somebody's gonna drop, and it's not me. Or even aside from like things that are like deserved and things like that, these days it's chicks a lot of the times that just line people up for stupid shit, or, you know, just drama, or, you know, things like with the girl and things like that. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of motivating factors that can just, you know, cause somebody to crash out and just, you know, try and get at you or whatever like that. So I just feel like for whatever reason, you gotta have something on you. And I know this video is, you know, kind of focused on the valley, but really it's Texas, to be honest. If I go to San Antonio or Houston, guess what? Dudes there, it's the same shit. And no hate to none of my people or anything like that. I love Texas all the way. I love every city out there, you know, much love. Shout out from the valley. But I'm just saying, you know, Texas and Florida were the number 2 states that are totally pro-gun. We got the most guns. Texas has the most guns for sure. I think it's more than the civilian count at this point. So with that being said, with so many guns in the state, with so many in circulation, you got shit that's, you know, bought legally. You got shit that's off market, black market, cereals wiped off, things like that. What are you gonna do if something happens? What are you gonna do? Especially, right, like if you know, post up against some group, somebody's gonna be carrying something. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Like down here, you've had like just some dumb shootouts, like in parking lots, at the mall, the Plaza Mall. You just got some stupid shit, or, you know, just dumb things happen all the time, you know, between friend groups or with chicks or with somebody doing some stupid shit, you know, trading. You know, there's some guys, you know, they're gonna want their get back, just little things that can pop off to big things, right? And, you know, a lot of the times these days, it's not as simple as, oh, let's just throw hands and we cut the beef like that. Nah, somebody's gonna go down. That's how it works a lot down here. So like, what do you think guys down here are like in the valley?
Very toxic, very dumb. Like, they want to always be top dog all the time.
Yeah. Things like that. So.
And so it's just dumb. Like, just be cool, be chill. Everyone's different. But yeah, you do gotta protect yourself anywhere and everywhere, because you never know what could pop off.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think guys down here have an obligation to be carrying some shit these days?
Honestly, yes. Just because, like I said, you never know when anything could happen. You can look at somebody a certain way and they not take it, you know, cool, and, you know, they might want to throw hands, or, you know. And so I think it is very important to always have a way to protect yourself.
You hear that? And that's from a chick, right? So even aside from the guy's standpoint, you know, they see it too. They know how it is. Let me know if in your city you guys can afford to not carry, to not have anything, right? To just, you know, defend yourself with your hands, or, you know, with martial arts, or whatever y'all do. Is that enough in your city? Let me know. I mean, here, yeah, it could be, but could be means it also could not be. You know what I'm saying? Last thing to kind of touch on is down here in the valley, right? We got a lot of gangs and things like that, and you know, there's moments where pretty much like you just see someone from an opposing group, you're up. There's not really talking or trying to understand things or work things out. Sometimes a lot of things just go down just because it's got to be like that, and just for many reasons you can't get caught lacking. I can't stress trying to have something on you all the time. Honestly, I think the minimum you should have is a 380, and that's at the minimum. Anything below 380, it's not really gonna cut it. Yeah, you could argue 5'7", but I'd argue that 5'7" and 380 are the same, or maybe 5'7" a little bit more, depending on the rounds. But yeah, definitely a minimum of a 380. You're not gonna get any proper protection from anything less than that for sure. You're definitely good with 9, 40, 45, 10, things like that. I mean, some can say those are overkill, but if you can handle the recoil, things like that, why not, right? So ultimately, it just depends on what you can handle. Do what you got to do for your people, your family, your friends, your loved ones. And again, this is all just from a protection standpoint. I'm not advocating for violence, nothing like that. Spread love, pray for your enemies, like Jesus said, things like that. But Jesus, if he were here right now, he would be pro 2A. He just, he wouldn't encourage things to pop off either like that. You know what I'm saying? So ultimately, just pray for who's against you, pray for who's with you, and do what you got to do.